We are the landfill department for the county. And so we manage 7 active landfills and 33 inactive landfills around the county. We've got a lot of engineers here helping us design and build landfills, but we also have a lot of environmental specialists and engineers who do a lot of monitoring of our landfills, the air, the water, the soil, to make sure that everything we're doing is compliant with federal and state law. And within the environmental group, we have a small recycling team of which I'm part. And so that's what I do. I help spread the word about recycling, composting, and things like that. So next slide. So when most people think of waste, they think of these 3 bins. They think of what they roll down to the curb every week and their garbage truck picks up. And what we want you to know is that we have absolutely nothing to do with that. We are the Department of Waste Resources. We're the landfill people. The bottom line is, these are the 3 colors of the bins in Riverside, but different municipalities might have different colors. But generally, everybody has a bin for landfill. Everybody has a bin for recycling. And then most places have a bin for organics. Organics are your landscape waste, and in some cases, food waste. Food like things that fell from a tree. A lemon, an orange, an apple, a banana peel is fine, but you're not supposed to throw in your food from, like, you know, your tacos or your pizza or something like that. It's just things that came from your yard or things that fell from a tree. But the brown bin is what goes to the landfill, and that's what we manage. So you can go to the next one. This is what a landfill looks like. I just point this out for a couple of reasons. One, there was a time when landfills were called dumps, and they literally were. They were holes in the ground where they buried trash, they covered it with dirt. A lot of things seeped out of that, you know, out of the landfill, out of the dump, into the groundwater, into the soil, into the air. They became, you know, EPA super funds. It's where the reason why the Environmental Protection Agency was created in the first place, were for all these sites that were toxic. The bottom line is landfills are now, they have like 8 linings, there's a lining system of gravel, sand, polysynthetic material, and all sorts of things to protect the environment around the landfill, protect it from leaking into the soil, from leaking into the groundwater, or escaping into the air. We have all sorts of gas capture to capture as much methane, and water capture to capture the leachate. It's not 100% flawless, but it's much, much, much better than it was a generation ago. The point I want to make to you guys is when you put things in your brown bin, you're putting them in this landfill that has all these linings. And because it's lined so well, it's not getting much oxygen. So where the previous landfills were flawed for a lot of reasons, at least things decompose more quickly. Now we have no idea how long they're gonna take to decompose, because in a lot of cases, the decomposition process hasn't even started yet. You need oxygen for things to decompose. So we're preventing a lot of things from getting out, but we're also preventing a lot of things from getting in. So the point I want to make to you is when you put something in your brown bin and you send it to the landfill, just know that you've made a decision to the landfill, to send something to the landfill for years and years and years, well beyond as long as we're going to live, and maybe even centuries beyond that, because that's just the way landfills are designed today. So the next slide shows what happens with the operations of a landfill. We don't want to spend too much time into that. I just want to show you a picture of the lining system now that we build them with that, and just make a couple of points about how we manage landfills. You know, we dig a big hole, and every day we use part of it to put waste. Every night it's covered, and then every day we roll back that cover and work back on that cell until we have a series of cells that are called a lift, and we have a series of lifts until this landfill is full. But the bottom line is I just want you to see how the lining system, how they're built today. You can go to the next one. This is a really important slide. This is what goes into the landfill. So today we're going to talk about vermicomposting. I want to point out that of everything that's going into the landfill, and they do have these waste characterization studies that really do pull things out of garbage trucks that are headed for the landfill, and they do these audits, they do take these inventories, excuse me, and they see what's going into the landfill. You can see that over 1/3, 37%, is organic material. So over 1/3 of what's going to a landfill is compostable. You can also see paper, glass, metal, plastic, all that equals about another 30, 33%. So another third is recyclable. So the point is, 2/3 of what's going to the landfill right now doesn't have to go to the landfill. Over 40 million tons of materials were landfilled in California last year. So you can do the math to see how much we're sending. And if 2/3 of that doesn't have to be landfilled, you can see the problem. And so there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't send so much waste to the landfill. But the reason we care about the most, and maybe you'll care about the most too, is when landfills are full, we have to build more landfills. And I don't know about you, but I'm not looking to have any new landfills near my house or my school or my business. Nobody really wants us to site more landfills. So our goal is to make what we have last as long as possible, which is why it's so important to recycle and to compost your organic waste. I'm sorry, next slide. Bottom line is, when we're talking about landfills, we're talking about two things. We're talking about managing what goes in the landfill, and we're talking about managing or keeping stuff out of it that shouldn't go into it in the first place, like recyclable materials, organic materials, and hazardous materials. Hazardous materials being like a can of gasoline or dynamite or something. So our job is two-part, and that's why you're talking to the guy from the landfill department, because we're trying to keep all that organic waste out of the landfill. You can go to the next slide. We do that with various programs, various outreach programs, various programs that you can access either online or in person with us, or these days virtually. One of those programs is our vermicomposting program, which is what we're here to talk about today. But just know that there's a lot of other resources online, a lot of information on rcwaste.org, or you can always just call us. We're always here to help you manage your waste or divert your waste, ideally.